It's a little bit later, but that's a story in itself too, with the little get what killed the gal. That's another story, Chappaquiddick. Yeah, it was after this, obviously. And Ted Kennedy, if you think about that, he's lost 2 brothers, well, he's actually lost 3 brothers. Okay, and he had some alcohol issues. Well, we might get to that, we're just not getting as far, but he did do that, yeah. Now, the shooter of Robert F. Kennedy was a 24-year-old Palestinian by the name of Sirhan Sirhan. Sirhan. And obviously you're going to wonder what his motivations might have been, right? Okay, Sirhan's motivations. Yeah, I'm just going to kind of go through this kind of quickly. There was a conflict a year before the senator's assassination known as the 6-Day War. And it was a war between Israel and Arab countries like Palestine. And Kennedy had made remarks about his support of Israel. We always have supported Israel. And the Kennedys were big supporters of Israel. And Robert Kennedy was a huge supporter of Israel in this conflict in the Middle East. And the date that Robert Kennedy was assassinated was the first anniversary of the 6-Day War, a year after it had occurred. And it occurred on June 5th, 1967. And it was just ironic that he shot Robert Kennedy on June 5th of 1968. And they found a diary in Sirhan's home, and in that diary he had written the following: "My determination to eliminate RFK is becoming the more of an unshakable obsession. RFK must die. RFK must be killed. Robert F. Kennedy must be assassinated. Robert F. Kennedy must be assassinated before 5 June 1968. They found that in Sirhan's diary at his home after the assassination. Now, George Plimpton, who was one of the men that subdued Sirhan, he commented later that Sirhan was, quote, unusually calm, peaceful, or had dreamlike expressions on his face amid all the terror and confusion. That's how he described Sirhan after they apprehended him, as unusually calm, peaceful or dreamlike expression on his face amid all the terror and confusion. Well, Sirhan was convicted of the murder of Robert Kennedy and was sentenced to death. He was convicted of the murder of Robert Kennedy and sentenced to death. Well, a later ruling by the California Supreme Court eliminated the death penalty in that state, and as a result, Sirhan was given a life sentence instead. You know who else got paroled, so to speak, from a life sentence by a result of that ruling that we won't get to, but you've probably heard of? Charles Manson and all of his followers that were involved in the brutal murders in California. They all also were commuted to life sentences rather than the death penalty by that result. Now, I want you to pay attention because I think this is perfect. Shortly after the assassination of Robert Kennedy, an author by the name of Loren Coleman made an opinion about this particular event in history. So shortly after the assassination of Robert Kennedy, an author by the name of Loren Coleman made an opinion. And this is what he said. He said it was his belief that the assassination of Senator Robert F. Kennedy was the first act of Arab terrorism to take place on American soil. Not 9/11, but the Robert Kennedy assassination, in his mind, was the first incident or first act of Arab terrorism ever to take place on American soil, because this man shot Robert Kennedy for obvious reasons because of his support of Israel in the Middle East. Okay? He's still in jail today, Sirhan. Still in jail today. All right, we're going to finish up with this. What's that? Oh, well, we won't worry about that. The Manchurian Candidate, if you ever get a chance to watch that with Denzel Washington, anybody ever seen that movie? Hey, before I forget, if you want to watch something that's pretty good, but it's pretty fictional, but it's kind of got some stuff right, but it's kind of interesting, is watch a video called Bobby. It's pretty good, and it really talks about these things. But the characters are fictional, but the events are kind of real. But it's kind of interesting because it's all about the events at the Ambassador Hotel that day and days before. And it kind of alludes that some of those people in the video were part of these people that were shot. So if you get bored some night, like I give you a list of things, look up Bobby on Netflix or whatever and watch it. Okay, last thing I want to cover, and we're going through this pretty quickly, so I don't even want you to write anything down, is I want to talk about a worldwide civil rights protest, the 1968 Summer Olympic Games. It was the most notable protest of the decade that occurred during one of the major sports events in the world. It happened during the 1968 Olympic Games in Mexico City. And Tommy Smith and John Carlos stepped into history concerning the civil rights movement. Both Smith and Carlos had won Olympic medals in track and field during the games. In the 200-meter run, Smith placed first. He won the gold medal. Carlos finished third, winning the bronze medal. And during the medal ceremony, which you guys have watched, both men protested the treatment of Negroes in the United States during the raising of the American flag and the playing of the national anthem. Both Smith and Carlos wore black scarves, and each man raised a black-fisted glove into the air with their heads down during the playing of the national anthem. And people around the world, especially white people, were shocked at what they considered a blatant show of disrespect not only to the American flag, but also to the American nation. Well, both Smith and Carlos were immediately suspended from the games. They were expelled from the Olympic Village for their actions, but they were not stripped of their medals, which people believe. Probably the key to this story is the guy that placed second. The guy that placed second in the 200 meters. You look at this picture up here. Tommy Smith, John Carlos, Peter Norman, a white man from Australia who joined in the protest by wearing a button that you see on the lapel of his sweatsuit. Okay? So Norman supported the movement, and ironically, John Carlos had forgotten his gloves because they both had black gloves. And it was Norman that suggested to Carlos that he just wear one of Smith's gloves because he had forgot his. So they were both supposed to raise right-handed, white hands with black gloves on them, but Carlos forgot his. Okay? Now, because of Norman's small part of this American protest, he was reprimanded hard by his country back in Australia, who at the time were pretty darn racist. He was ostracized by the Australian media. They began to give many negative reports on him. And in 1972, 4 years later, despite the fact that he finished third in the trials, which should have normally qualified an athlete for the Olympic Games, they left him off the 1972 Australian Olympic team. He continued to compete. He contracted gangrene in 1985 after tearing his Achilles tendon. Because he could not race anymore the way he was treated, depression and heavy drinking followed, and Norman died of a heart attack on November 3rd, 2006 in Melbourne, Australia, at the age of 64. Both Smith and Carlos traveled to Australia and served as pallbearers for Peter Norman. In 2008, 40 years after their event, both Carlos and Smith were awarded the Arthur Ashe Courage Award at the ESPYs for their stand for civil rights in 1968. One of the greatest symbols in American history. Quick story, then we'll do something else. Last year, we're in Orange period. Some of you might have been there. Sierra Borbetz wrote a report on Tommy Smith, and she wrote in a report that the medals had been taken. And I said, gee, Sierra, where'd you get that information? She said, I got it on biography.com. And I looked it up, and it did say that. And I thought, God, have I been teaching this wrong for 40 years? I knew I hadn't. So her and I got on the internet. We looked up this site called TommySmith.com. And so we called the phone number, and his wife answered and gave us the information, and that day called the class and talked to him on the phone about this whole incident. And then the picture that's going around, he signed one for each of the kids in the class. Just kind of a chance thing. But when we go to the African American Museum, which I've never been in, it's brand new, you'll see things about that. And on the campus of San Jose State, where these fellows went to college, they have a statue of just the two men with a blank spot for Peter Norman. And Peter Norman came to the statue dedication and did not want his thing there because he thought the attention ought to go to those two guys. And I'll show you some video of that sometime. Okay, that is it, kiddos. What I'm going to give you here before we go is Kyle's going to hand you this worksheet that's due tomorrow. And then I'm going to give you your cards and tell you what you need to do here. Do not lose these, kiddos. Two different types. Those of you that are 18, those of you that are not. In both instances, there is a number on the card that you have to call and activate. Now, it's my understanding that these cards, the 18-year-old cards, they're going to give you a PIN number. And then you can either keep that PIN number or you can change it to a PIN number you want on the phone. I think with these gift cards, you don't get a PIN number, but I wouldn't bet my life on it. You'll certainly know when you call. I obviously didn't call your PIN number, okay? But here's the thing you need to do. Make sure between now and Sunday, what I did is I called, I activated it, I put my PIN in, I went right down to the old machine down here, put it in and checked my balance. They didn't charge me anything, and then you know it works. And if you have any issues that these aren't working, don't tell me Friday at 3:30. Okay? We need to tell me like Thursday when I get back from the ACT. So Nia Beth, here's yours. How do you spell it? N-I-A? She spelled it right here. Cody. Mackenzie. Now another thing, Bailey, you're going to find a piece of paper that goes with this. Hey, when you get done activating, do not put your card and the piece of paper in the same place so they can be lost at the same time. Because if you've got them together and you don't have this piece of paper here, you cannot get your money back if you lose it. Okay? Carly?
What?
Blaine? Well, don't lose it. Kyle? Hannah? Will? Keller? Nick? Milo? And Kylie. Okay, the gift cards have the same amount of money on them. Soraya? Well, they're actually kind of cooler looking.
Thanks for opening my stuff.
Buck? I did not open it up. The lady at the place did.
What the heck?
Sierra's not here. Chantel. Brooke?
That's kind of like going home and your parents open your mail.
Taylor?
Yeah, my own phone.
Megan? Shania? Gracie? Talent? Okay, now listen. I want to go over some things here before so we can get through here real quick. I got just enough time. These are reminders I have to give you, so listen to what I'm saying so you don't screw this up. These are my pet peeves on the DC trip. This is the only time I really get negative. I do not want grab ass on the subways or any other time. And girls, I'm not talking to you because boys are world champion grab assers. Jumping on each other and hugging each other. I mean, just crazy. Don't do that. That will get me irritated, especially on the subways. Okay, cell phones during tours when others are talking. Don't be on them, or I will take them from you and you will never get them back till we get home. Okay, don't be taking photos in the Library of Congress while the guy's talking. Now when the guy gets done talking, great. But I don't want him talking and you over here taking a picture of that. Do not do that, okay? This is the one that drives me the most nuts. At night, what you normally do is you open up your door and you put that little thing there so you don't get locked out, I get it. Don't bang those. Don't open the door wide open and bang. Bang. Because people that are on the floor with us do not like that. And I'm telling you, I've been doing this a long time. I have never in my life had a call from the front desk saying the room's noisy. If I get one, guess where you're going? Home. Okay? I don't want any call from the hotel complaining about any room, or you will be in history. Okay? And that's what gets people nuts, is the banging of hotel room doors. Okay, I do not want any doors opening after I tell you it's lights out. If you're out of your room and lights out, you will not like it. Okay, make sure you're in your room. I don't care what you forgot, if you're thirsty, hungry, whatever. Once those lights are out, you're out. Okay, now I'm just saying this because I say it every year. Maybe this is for everybody, maybe. But I don't want any holding hands, hugging, that type of stuff during the instructional day. The idea would be is that anyone we're around during the instructional day would have no idea that you are dating. That's the general rule. Okay? Now, we're going to start the weaning process on Sunday. So Rogers and Lamb and Lloyd are going to ride up in my pickup with me, not on the bus. We're going to begin the weaning process.
We're stopping for auto tickets.
And we're going to stop in Bridger for some auto tickets. But I take my pickup up because I have lots of times to give kids rides back. Okay, so I'll be behind the bus. All right. We need respectful cell phone usage after lights out. Last year I had to rip Brianna Mickelson because finally the kids came to me and said, we can't get any sleep. She's on the phone with Nate Barris all night long. So she got a ripping and her phone taken away. So, you know, we got to talk about that. Shh. This is a big one because it's happening now. I do not want you talking when others are talking. If I'm giving instructions, you're not talking. If you're at the Library of Congress and that person's talking, you're not talking. Okay, we're going to be very respectful when others are talking. Don't be late to anything. So if I say we have a team meeting at 9 o'clock in the lobby, don't be late. If I say we're leaving at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., don't be late. That will really get my ire. That's a pet peeve. Do not forget your subway card, and we have to wait for you when we're on a tight schedule for you to run back to your motel room and get your card to get on the subway. Okay? Always remember to have your subway card with you when we leave, and always remember to have your ID with you when we leave. Always. And probably your meal card would be good too. Okay. I don't care if we wear ball caps to Arlington. I get it. But I don't want you having your hat on when in Arlington. Two times. What? Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and when we're inside the Arlington house. Are the 2 times we don't want your hats on. The rest of it, for the most part, you can wear your hats. Obviously, we're not going to wear them into the Kennedy Center, into the Capitol, those types of things. Indoors and at the Tomb of the Unknown. I've never had problems with this because I think you guys get it. And I may chew out several groups that aren't mine on the time because I've done it before, including sponsors. Show respect at Arlington National Cemetery. It is a cemetery. Nothing drives me nuts is when I see a group of 8th graders playing grab ass and making all kinds of noise as we're walking down to Mike Mansfield's gravesite. I've even scolded sponsors, believe it or not, saying, what's your story here? Oh. So show respect. Okay, boys and girls, make sure you have clothing on that covers you. This is a pretty conservative group. I do not want how would I put it? I do not want the tour guide at the Pentagon, a nice-looking military man, spending more time looking at you than he is the tour. He is walking backwards, and I'd hate to see him fall over. Okay. Good walking shoes. Don't. And Brooke's going to get hers broke in, but don't buy a brand new pair of shoes and put them on for the first time in D.C. because you will pay the price. Okay. So make sure you have good walking shoes. Style doesn't matter a lick here, especially the first 2 days. Okay? So, whatever's comfortable. Okay, your cell phones. I want you to take your cell phones with you because that's what this is all about, is recording the history there. But they're always on silent. Nobody's ringing in the middle of the day, especially in Arlington or inside a tour. So have your cell phones on silent, make sure they're on silent. Don't do like I did in church the other day. I got so nervous that I didn't have my cell phone silenced. I reached in my pocket to silence and I pushed the button and Siri goes, "What can I do for you?" Yeah, we'd really just as soon not have that happen, okay? Okay, and you have your cards, right? Okay, so anybody have any questions at all? You're gonna have to get on your phone and call those and get those activated. Okay, good question. 2 questions I'm gonna answer before the bell rings, and stay here if it does ring. Everybody asks me many times, how much cash should I bring? I bring $100 in cash because we're gonna be traveling, you know, and moving, and you're gonna wanna stop at a hot dog stand or a donut stand or whatever they have lots of and get something to eat, and they will not take your cards, okay? And the $15 you will owe me as we get off the airplane in cash, correct change, because I'm not changing anything. Correct change when we get off the airplane in DC, so I can give that to the guy that's transporting. Okay? Any questions? Tomorrow, Nick's going to have the Vietnam. You don't have to bring anything except yourself tomorrow to the class. Okay. This assignment needs
Lynn, Talon
the assignment
Emerson,
needs
you
to
have
be
items
given
in the
to
office. Taylor Lynn,
pile up
Talon
the
Emerson,
assignments
also
in
students.
that basket
Prom
there.
pictures are in
They're
the
all true
office.
and false. You shouldn't have any trouble. You can work together. Okay. I got it.
We have students who go.
Yeah, well, they're right there, but they're not all there. See, those are pretty cheap. They're only like $1.50. Yeah, see him smeared a little bit? Yeah, yeah. See what he did there? You can see him, whatever one was behind you, he smeared. I thought it was pretty good for a guy 97.
Yeah.
Did yours come out?